Hey, what's going on, guys? It's ETA Prime back here again. Today we're going to be taking a look at the all-new Raspberry Pi high-quality camera module along with the two lenses that have been released so far, and I'm sure in the future more companies will release more lenses for this. But I'm really excited about this because on paper this looks like an awesome little accessory for your Raspberry Pi. Now, this is definitely not the first camera module that the Pi Foundation has released for our Raspberry Pis, but this is definitely the best. We have a 12.3 megapixel Sony IMX477 back-illuminated sensor built into this camera, so we should get some really good shots out of this thing. Along with the camera, I also have the 6mm wide-angle lens and the 16mm telephoto lens. Now, the camera itself is just the sensor, and you will need a lens for this to work correctly. But once it's set up, it'll work on any Raspberry Pi as long as you have the full-size CSI connector, and it will work on the Raspberry Pi Zero with the adapter. Unfortunately, the Pi Foundation released this with a smaller adapter, and we needed that adapter for the older cameras anyway. So overall, it should work well on the Raspberry Pi Zero W, but for this video, I'm going to be using the Raspberry Pi 4. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to connect your camera to the Raspberry Pi 4, set up the software, and then we're going to go over the quality of this camera. I do want to take some test photos with it, but before we get started, I do want to mention that this video is sponsored by Micro Center. They were kind enough to send over the new Raspberry Pi high-quality camera and lenses, and they do stock these in store. So yeah, if you're not familiar with Micro Center, then you really should be if you're a tech enthusiast. They have real brick and mortar stores that you can walk in. You can test out the panels. If you need to buy an LCD, you can see the cases. You can put your hands on the product before you purchase it. They have stores in California, Colorado, Georgia, Illinois, Kansas, Massachusetts, Maryland, Michigan, Minnesota, Missouri, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Texas, and Virginia. I've been planning on getting into one of the stores to do a full video from there, but in the last couple years they've really gotten into the SBC makerboard market, which is something I'm really big into. And hopefully in the next couple months I can take a trip to my closest Micro Center and do a video. If you guys are interested in that, let me know in the comments below. But either way, I'm going to leave links to Micro Center's website so you can find the closest store, and you definitely need to get in there, especially if you're into tech. Okay, so here's a look at the new camera. The ribbon cable may not be connected to the camera module out of the box. It's really easy to do. I mean, they have full instructions on their website. But one of my favorite parts about this camera is the built-in tripod mount. This is going to make it super easy to mount to your favorite tripod. With past Raspberry Pi cameras, we either had to 3D print something or rig something up to get the camera to mount correctly, but with this, we got that mount and it's just going to be super easy this way. Along with the dust cap, we also have this back focused adjustment ring, and this is very important. When you put a new lens on it, you will have to adjust this in order for the new lens to focus correctly with this sensor. And that focus ring can be locked down using the super mini G.I. Joe screwdriver that's included with the camera. Like I mentioned, there's two lenses available right now. This is the 6mm wide-angle lens. I'm not too keen on wide-angle lenses, but I think I'm definitely going to give this a shot. I'm more interested in the 16mm telephoto lens. But overall, these are awesome little options for the new Raspberry Pi camera. Before we assemble this unit, I did want to give you a look at the other lens they have. This is the 16mm telephoto lens. And it's absolutely massive for a small camera like this, but we are working with a really good sensor here. This is a Sony IMX477R. This is a stacked back-illuminated sensor at 12.3 megapixels, so we should be able to get some really good shots off with this. Assembly is super easy with this. We're just going to screw the lens right on here, whether you're using the wide angle or the telephoto. I opted for the 16mm lens here. I think it's going to come out really good. But it's going to screw right onto the sensor mount, and like I mentioned, we do have that back adjustment ring that needs to be adjusted. You can lock it down with this small screwdriver, so once you have it set, it's just a matter of using the focus on the lens. Connecting the camera to the Pi is super easy. As long as your Raspberry Pi has a camera port, you'll be able to use this. Like I said, the Raspberry Pi Zero W has a smaller camera port, but they do offer adapters. Just place the ribbon cable in the camera port, lock it down, and now we have the camera attached to the Raspberry Pi. Now it's just a matter of getting the software set up to use this camera on the Pi. I'm going to be using this Raspberry Pi 4 with Raspbian. So I wanted to make this as portable as possible. I grabbed an old tripod that I had laying around, a Raspberry Pi 4 running Raspbian, and an aluminum case. You don't need a case like this, but I had it laying around. This is the Argon Neo with a Pi 4 inside of it. As you can see, I have it attached to the tripod. In turn, the camera is attached to the Raspberry Pi through the camera port, and I've mounted it right on the tripod mount. Now it's time to move over to the Raspberry Pi running Raspbian. I'm going to show you how to get this set up. It's actually pretty easy. I'm also going to show you how to do a preview image and take your first still image. Okay, so here we are. Raspberry Pi 4 running Raspbian. I got the camera connected to the camera port. We're going to go ahead and enable this camera. We can do this from the drop-down menu. We're going to go to Preferences, Raspberry Pi Configuration, Interfaces, make sure Camera is enabled. We'll click OK, and it's going to prompt us to reboot the Pi. So we're going to go ahead and reboot. And now it's time to snap our first picture, and we're going to do all of this from terminal. You can press Ctrl-Alt-T on your keyboard, or we can go up to this little icon right here, and it'll open up a terminal window for us. So this is probably going to be way out of focus because I do have to adjust the lenses on this thing. It doesn't do it automatically. You will have to do it manually with both of the lenses available. So the first thing I always like to do is just set up a preview window. And you can do that by typing in Raspi still T0. So here's our preview, and I'm going to start the adjustment. And like I mentioned, I have to do this manually on the lens itself, so you'll see this shaking around a little bit. So let's see here. We'll let in a little more light with the aperture here, and I can adjust the focus. And already I can tell you this is looking really good. This is just some sound deadening foam that I have on my wall, but I will move this over to my table so we can take a picture of some stuff. So we're pretty much in focus where we are right now. When I move over to the table, I will have to adjust the focus again for whatever I'm taking a picture of. I'm going to lock this down with a screwdriver just to make sure it's good. And now we can take our first picture. So I'm going to go ahead and shut this terminal window down. We're going to open up another one. And to take our first picture, we just need to type in this command right now. It's going to name the picture test1 and put it in our Pi directory or home Pi. Press enter. Preview window will pop up. It's going to take the picture for me. There we go. So now we can see that if we open up a file explorer, it's right here, test1. And the detail here is actually pretty crazy. I mean, it actually looks really good already. So setting it up this way is a bit of a hassle, and if you don't want to do any Python coding yourself, you're in luck because we do have an application that we can download and use very easily. And this is called the Pi Camera app by Bill Williams, 1952. He's made this up for us. It's really easy to use. We can take video, pictures, we have a live preview, and it works really well with this new Raspberry Pi 4 and the new camera module. In order to get this up and running, we're just going to clone to download. We'll download the zip. You can place this anywhere, but I'm going to put it on my desktop for easy access. Right click, extract here. We're going to open up the Pi Camera app master, go to source, and from here we're going to open up a terminal window, tools, open current folder in terminal, and all we need to do is type this in to run it. Press enter, and there we have it. Go ahead and minimize this. And as you can see, we do have our preview window up in the top left-hand corner. We can change the resolution or the picture quality right here, but you might want to go to roll your own and set it up for a 12 megapixel sensor. Now, the overlay can be adjusted, so we have a bigger preview. But this just makes it so much easier, especially because we have to adjust the camera focus ourselves. So I just adjusted it. We can take a picture. We can record video. I'm just going to set it up like this. Picture, get a little preview over here, photo, save image, whatever you want to name it. And now over here in our pictures folder, we have that new image. And this one definitely didn't turn out good, but I'm going to take some pictures with some good light and we'll get a feel for how this camera really performs. But this is a great app here. You can record video, you have your preview window. This is what I'm personally going to be using. And after a bit of time, I started getting some really good photos with this camera. Now I'm using the 16mm telephoto lens. Nothing is edited here, but the next two shots you're going to see are cropped in. There's no filters or anything like that. I just cropped in a little bit so everything was even with this janky tripod that I'm using. But I gotta say, I think they came out pretty good for being taken with a Raspberry Pi camera. Now I really haven't had much time to mess around with the camera settings in Python or anything like that. So basically what I did here was line up the shot adjust the focus, and take a picture, and I really do think they came out pretty nicely. But there is one major drawback to using a camera on the Raspberry Pi, and that's portability. I had to lug everything outside to try to get some outdoor shots, and unfortunately, the screen that I was using has so much glare because of the sunlight, it was really hard for me to focus. So these were the only outdoor shots that I have right now, and obviously they're not the greatest, but it really comes down to user error on my part. I also took a couple shots with the wide-angle lens, and man, this is definitely a wide-angle lens. Gives off some fisheye, but overall, it's pretty nice. Personally, I'm a big fan of the Telephoto. I know some people love these wide-angle lenses, but for me, I'd much rather use the 16mm over this. So I definitely want to spend some more time with this camera, and I will have another video coming up using this camera. I want to take a bunch of shots for the next week. We're going on a trip, so I figured I could take it with me, see if I can get some good shots there. I also want to test out some video recording, so I will be posting another video about the high-quality Pi camera very soon on my channel, so definitely keep an eye out. But I gotta say, I am very impressed with the still picture quality so far with this 12.3 megapixel sensor. It's definitely the best Raspberry Pi camera that the Pi Foundation has released, and I'm really looking forward to testing this out a little more. But that's pretty much it for this video. I really appreciate you watching. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to check out Micro Center's website. If there's a store near you, you need to check it out. But like always, thanks for watching.